I know.
Thank you.
So I'm going to say a few words to introduce you, and then I'll turn it over to you. And usually how it goes is our presentation and question and answer, and then we have an informal half an hour where you can just mingle with people and sure they come up with thoughts. And it's Monteclavo. And Ommokalee. Ommokalee. Yeah, try my hardest.
Yeah, they did. I was just because. That's why I got the
Okay, we're going to get started. Please continue to get food. But for the sake of time, we're going to get started. Wait, I'm going to wait for John to get food. Wait for John to get his food. Yeah, I didn't see that. Did you like the study? Oh, it's beautiful. That's what we're going to eat lunch. We'll walk over there and have lunch.
I haven't had the review.
Susan got you. Yes. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Dean's Lecture Series. This is a special day because not only are we having a lecture today, but this afternoon we're going to have an opening of our donor named lab, and we have the privilege of having John and Lisa McNichol, if you guys could stand, who are donors. Who will be, and they have a strong affinity and friendship with our next presenter for the Dean's Lecture Series. Dawn Montecalvo is going to be presenting. She is the president and CEO of the Guadalupe Center in Ommokalee, Florida. The center is committed to providing children of Ommokalee access to high-quality, innovative academic and special support programs strategically designed to start from 6 weeks of age and continue through college graduation. The organization's focus is on the most critical periods of a children's education, early childhood education, reducing the achievement gap and college preparation and success. She will provide information about the success of her center as well as her perspective on systemic issues in education. Turn over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dean Hamrick, for inviting me today and also for taking the time last week to come down and visit our center in Ommokalee. It was great to have you there and to see what we were doing. And thank you, Lisa and John, for creating this partnership and relationship with Drexel. We're very excited. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what we do at the Guadalupe Center, how education in an impoverished community is important, and then share with you a bunch of statistics, talk about a bunch of things. Just when you have questions, please just jump in. But I wanted to start with telling you about when I was a little girl, I found a 4-leaf clover. And it didn't seem really hard to find because it was right in front of me and I just picked it. But my very, very Irish dad thought I was the luckiest girl on earth. So he had it laminated so I can carry it with me forever. And from that day forward, at the age of 9, it was my job to walk to the corner store and buy his lottery tickets. Because I was lucky. So, but see, my dad, like so many other people, he only had an 8th grade education. And he, as he would say, he went to the school of hard knocks. And he only knew life as a member of a low-income family. So like so many other people, he believed that the only way to achieve your dreams was to win the lottery. But what he didn't realize, and that took me a long time, he thought I was the family good luck charm. But what I realized later was I didn't need a 4-leaf clover. I always had it right here and right here. Good morning. I'm Dawn Montecalvo. I'm the CEO and president of Guadalupe Center in Ommokalee, Florida. And I don't believe in luck. Why leave it to chance when you can make choices to create the life you want? At the Guadalupe Center, we work with the children of Ommokalee so that they can believe that they have everything that it takes inside to overcome the profound challenges of living in an impoverished community. And we do it through education. We're there at every key educational milestone. Starting as young as 6 weeks old, we help children in their early childhood build the emotional, social, and academic foundation that they need to be kindergarten ready. And when they enter their early elementary years, we are there by their side, making sure that they have the strong reading skills so that they can read to learn. And when they enter high school, we're there to make sure they have the skills, the resources, and the confidence to become first-generation college graduates. We serve more than 1,300 students and their families each year. Students like Alberta, who is a high school senior, and her 3 younger siblings, Rosaria, Elmer, and Graciela, all of whom we started serving after their mom had passed a few years ago. We have helped Alberta and Rosaria realize that they can stay in high school, graduate, attend college, and still keep their family together. With our community partners, we're helping Elmer remain physically and emotionally healthy so he can stay in school and not take a job in the fields. And Graciela. We've helped Graciela transform from a nonverbal child to an accomplished preschool graduate. Because we're working with our students to thrive from the inside out, they are creating the lives that they want. The 95% of our 5-year-olds test kindergarten ready. 100% of our high school students graduate high school and are accepted to college. And we have an astounding 92% of our college students graduate and become economically independent. So many years ago, I lost that 4-leaf clover. But I still became a first-generation college graduate who broke the cycle of poverty for me and my family. And these young people need to know that the same is possible for them, each of them. And they need to know that they have everything it takes right here and right here to create the life they want. So I know I'm preaching to the choir about education here, but you can join our mission to provide quality education for students like ours in your community and throughout the country. We will be able to help these students create the life they want and the life that they deserve. So what I'd like to do now is kind of talk to you more a little bit, share a video with you about what did I mean by being lucky. I did forget one thing to share with you. The thing that kind of makes me do what I do is that I hear people talk about impoverished migrant communities, and I think to myself, these kids hear what people are saying about them. And what they're hearing over and over again, the message that they're getting is that they're unlucky. They were born in the wrong place, in the wrong zip code, under the wrong circumstances. And that's a pretty hard narrative to carry around. So, carry around with them. And so what we try to do is make sure that they know that they aren't unlucky. I want to share this video with you that is the zip code lottery. And I felt like I won the zip code lottery, even though I grew up in a low-income family. I grew up right on a border of a well-to-do neighborhood community and a not-so-well-to-do community, and I got to go to the really good public school. So I felt like I won the lottery just by 3 feet. So I want to share this, and you know it's completely true, everything that's in here, because Morgan Freeman is narrating it.
Just have to click play.
Oh, sorry.
No problem. Good for you.
Good thing for Eric.
Yes.
He saves us.
Meet Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, and Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, and Jordan, and Jamie Johnson. 2 beautiful babies born on the very same day. Each baby has a good chance of landing in a good place in life, as long as one of them doesn't lose the zip code lottery. Like 1 million babies each year, Jamie's been born into a low-income family. And since Jamie's mom lacked access to good prenatal care, Jamie is much smaller than Jordan. And since they won't have access to brain-developing activities found in high-quality childcare, low-income children like Jamie will be 2 times more likely to experience developmental delays. It probably won't surprise you that by their third birthday, Jamie's been exposed to a lot fewer words than Jordan. A whole lot fewer. And I imagine Jamie's fourth birthday won't be much better. By the time they reach kindergarten, Jamie will have already fallen behind Jordan in language and pre-reading skills by 12 to 14 months. And getting to school on a regular basis will be perhaps Jamie's biggest challenge. Unfortunately, a myriad of health, transportation, and housing problems will cause between 5 and 7.5 million Jamies to be chronically absent this year. But with summer right around the corner, you'd think Jamie would have plenty of time to catch up with Jordan then. Sadly, summer presents new challenges for Jamie. A mountain of challenges. You see, every summer, Jordan's learning will evolve by a month because of access to libraries, field trips, and camps, while Jamie will lose 2 months of school learning every summer because good habits such as reading haven't been reinforced. By the time they reach third grade, Jamie will be between 2 and 2.5 school years behind Jordan in critical reading skills. And how much more likely is Jamie to drop out than Jordan because he can't read at a third grade level? 13 times more likely, and the results of which are frankly catastrophic. Wait just 1 minute there, folks. The story doesn't end right there. Fortunately for Jamie and Jordan and all of us, there's a whole lot of folks out there that believe neither luck, nor lottery, nor zip codes should dictate Jamie's future, who also believe that our schools can't do it alone. Luckily, there are leaders, organizations, and good people out there that are dedicated to believing in a whole lot more. The solution right now is relatively straightforward if we can commit to 4 things. Number 1, we need to make sure our kids are healthy and ready for school. Number 2, we need to ensure they grow up in a word and book-enriched environment. Number 3, we need to engage them in healthy and educational activities over the summer. Number 4, we need to make sure that Jamie attends school every single day, because at the end of the day, you and I both know that lotteries, zip codes, and plain old dumb luck don't really offer our children's future. We do.
I do think dumb luck helps me once in a while, but
Yeah.
so what I like about this video, thank you. What I like about this video, it does put all the facts in, but it gives you a great visual. It's probably a lot of things that you all have heard. Is there anything that anybody thought stood out a little bit more than that you haven't seen before, or anything like that? Okay. So the grade level reading is really important. Ommokalee is, for those who don't know Ommokalee, it is one of the most economically disadvantaged areas in our country. 97% of all students are on free and reduced lunch, and only 3.5% of the folks in the community have a college degree. It's typically a migrant farm workers area. 75% of the country's tomatoes come from that area. English is a second language in most homes, and all of our students are first generation, are going to be first generation college students. So they don't have books in their home. Many of them are don't have English speaking parents, and they are learning with a deficit from the beginning because they're living in poverty. So it's easy for us to say we break the cycle of poverty through education and we focus on education, but if you don't address the issues of poverty, then education is not going to be a priority, as well as they're going to have greater challenges. So we partner with a number of different organizations throughout our community to provide the services that all Morgan told us about, making sure that they're healthy. We have University of Florida has a dental clinic, pediatric dental clinic that comes into our center 4 times a year and does dental cleanings, checkups, and sealants for our students. Also provides toothbrush stations in every one of our classrooms so the children brush their teeth after breakfast, snack, and lunch when they're in our building. They have their own little toothbrushes. Many of them, it's their first toothbrush that they had. They're learning skills. Those 1-year-olds, I think they're just chewing on them, but but they're trying. It's really fun to watch. But we're getting their habits, and we've seen the dental decay and dental issues decrease tremendously in the past 4 years since we started that program. We also partner with the University of, or Florida State University with the mental health program, so that we have counselors that we can provide for our students, as well as bringing different programs. So we make sure that we're observing our students. If a student is absent a long time, or there's definitely a change in behavior, we make sure that we're paying attention. There was an article in the Wall Street Journal about our high school football team a few months ago, and they were talking about the situation with ICE, with the immigration. And the football coach was saying how he didn't really know what the kids were going home to, and he didn't know if the kids were having any problems. And I was embarrassed reading the article that here is a leader in our community, a football coach, who wasn't taking the time to understand what the children were going home to and what challenges they had. He couldn't tell you if his football players had dinner or were hungry before they went to a game. He couldn't tell if they were worried about their parents or grandparents going home. And like, we need to be listening to our students and being aware of that if we're going to provide them the education that they need. So we, at the Guadalupe Center, we're very proud that our staff make sure that we understand the challenges that the students have. So I would like to share a little bit more about our program. So as I said, we have 3 programs. Our early learning program is I want to say our favorite, but it's not. They're all my favorite, but one of our largest ones. We serve 307 children under the age of 5. We currently have 1 campus and a satellite office, and we're in an expansion program because we have over 500 children on our wait list, and most of them are under the age of 3. It's the most expensive form of education to serve because of ratios and needs of student to teacher. So most organizations stay away from that younger one. But if we can provide that education to them because they're in an impoverished community, we can create that stronger foundation of communications. Morgan told you about the 30 million word gap. This is the time frame between 0 and 18 months that we can build that gap. I was telling his and John, I have a theory that that time with that gap, the kids may get to high school, have their education, get to high school, and they can be #1 in their class in our program and have a 4.8 GPA, which is kind of strange to me, but they can be achieving, but they're scoring low on their ACT and SAT tests because they don't have that fundamental foundation of language. And that is another element of growing in an impoverished community, not having that language goes to them. Our average fee is $39 a week for a child to attend our program. That's equivalent for a family of 4 living at the poverty level. So half of our families are at the poverty level or below. If anyone have kids in daycare or early learning now, you're paying $200, $225 a week, $39 a week. You can get a car now. So it's not just quality, but it's affordable. We're NACE accredited, so we have the highest national accreditation for early learning. We're the only center in Collier County and only one of 2 in Southwest Florida that have that accreditation. It is a long process, but we felt that we needed to lead by example for our families and for our kids to know that quality is just as important as having them in a safe location, if not more important. So we want to make sure that we do that. We had 84 of our little 5-year-olds graduate, go to kindergarten in August, and on their first day of school, the principals can tell a Guadalupe student, not because they're shouting their ABCs and can read, but because of their behavior, and they're ready to learn, and they know how to behave in a cafeteria, walk down the halls, We do make them sing as they walk down our hall, so I'm not sure how the public schools really like that. But you'll hear them counting, singing. I love rainy days because they're singing "Rain, Rain, Go Away," and so they're learning as they're going from one part of the building to the other. But we serve them family style, so I can walk into the cafeteria, and were they in the? Yes, I think they were there when you were there. There's about 50 children, 4-year-olds having lunch, and they're probably a little bit more well-behaved than you guys were getting breakfast this morning. So they wait for each other, they serve each other. As a mom, I get nervous when the 4-year-old picks up a big pitcher of milk and tries to pour it, but they can do it. So we're teaching them those skills. Many of them don't sit at home and have lunch or dinner with their family. They don't have, healthy food at the home, and this may be the only meal that they have the rest of the day. So we do provide all that and giving them the skills with that. We also have a Smart Start program. When I first joined the organization about 4 years ago, the challenge was, how do we reach more children? We have 500 children on our wait list. What are we going to do? And the first thing we did was start a Smart Start program, which is a mommy and me program, to reach the moms who are at home. We also have a lot of cultural issues in our community. 85% is Hispanic. The remainder is Haitian. And the Guatemalan families don't like to put their children in programs. They like to keep them home, maybe with grandma or an aunt, and the language is not there. So we have created a Mommy and Me program where we go into their community, into a center or the local library, and work with them on how they can teach their child. And we give them the books, we give them the resources. We've added a family literacy portion to it now, so that we're teaching the moms how to read and speak English at the same time. We just had a mom who came from Guatemala, and Guatemalan has 24 different dialects, and they don't really speak Spanish. So she didn't understand Spanish or English, and she can only write her name with an X. And so within a couple of weeks, she was writing her name. We hope that was her name. We gave her a name, but no, her name. But now she can, and she's learning English and Spanish. The other moms are helping her with the Spanish as we're helping her with the English. And now she has a network of moms that can help her, but now she's no longer an X. Now just imagine that's great impact on her, but what is the impact on her child now? So we're really excited about that. That program is expanding. We have 67 families in 5 different locations. It's only a couple hours a day, 1 day a week for the families, but they have the resources, so they have homework and they have to do it, and the moms are really into it. So we're real excited about that. I just wanted to kind of show you a few pictures. Even though we're in a highly impoverished, disadvantaged area, our location is quality because the kids deserve it, and we don't want them to feel like they don't deserve the best. But this is an example of our partnership with the University of Florida. The Tooth Fairy came in to teach them how to brush their teeth. And you'll see our classrooms look like kindergarten classrooms with centers and everything that they need. And the kids are really getting into it. Everything, we use a creative curriculum. So everything is hands-on, learning different things from actions. It has snowed at our building in Florida. They have been pigs in mud. They've been bumblebees in our garden, watering the plants with a little straw. So it's very interactive, and I'm always amazed on how the teachers come up with the most creative things for them to do. We also focus on parent engagement. I don't know if you've noticed, for us in our community, the big trend is how do we engage the parents? It's no longer just put them in the schools and we provide it for them, but helping the parents realize they need to be the child's teacher too. So we are, to be in our program, the parents must have a job or attending school, but then we have parent and child together meetings every month for 8 times a year, and they have to attend 7 of the 8 of them. And these are where we do interactive programs with them, give them resources, but also bring outside resources. Like we've had somebody talk about the dangers of internet. The police department has come with child safety. So different things that we can provide them, but keep them engaged. And if they don't attend, the student gets suspended. They have to be suspended for a few days. Parents will not let their child get suspended. They will attend. And that's our garden. We just had donors that did a butterfly, added some butterfly garden to it, but our 4- and 5-year-olds go in and they'll pick the vegetables and the fruits and the flowers, and they'll bring it into the classroom. If they find a worm, the worm comes into the classroom. They talk about how that is. So they're getting all this exposure and different things that they're going through. So like I said, 95% of our 4-year-old graduate, and that's our makeup. We have a partnership with the one of the local elementary schools with the public schools that we have. They had 3 extra trailers on one of the school properties that was unused. So we put 3 early learning classrooms in there for 0 to 3. And we said 60% of the children could be teachers' children, and the rest would be off of our wait list. And with that, it's created a great partnership because our major problem in Ommokalee, it's 45 minutes away from the other towns, and the housing is so poor that the quality of the public teachers, they rotate. They only stay out there maybe a year or 2 because they'd rather be closer to home, to be closer to their children. So if the quality teachers can bring their children, have quality daycare, or I shouldn't say daycare, that's a word we're not supposed to use, quality early childhood education, they'll stay in the community longer, and that'll be greater impact on our public schools out there. So we're doing that. Any questions so far? I feel like I'm going kind of fast, but talking about the early learning program. Doing good.
So obviously $39 isn't going to cut it for all this stuff that you're offering. So how are you funded?
I beg a lot. No. So, and I'll show you at the end our slide, but almost 70% of our budget is raised through philanthropy, through donors, private donors, and grants. We have very little federal money. We have the federal food program. We do provide breakfast, lunch, and snack for all our students, and that is funded through the federal food program because of all the students being, 97% of the students in the community being on free and reduced lunch. And then we have, in Florida, we have a voluntary pre-K program. I'm not sure if Philadelphia has that for the 4-year-olds. So the state gives us $2,400 a year. I think it's $2,380. It's going down each year for every 4-year-old for 3 hours a day, and then we do wraparound services. So that's grant, and then there's some school readiness dollars we get for very low income at-risk children. So between the food program and that, only about $1 million, less than $1 million do we get from federal and state funding. The rest is pretty much through grants and philanthropy. So, and it's harder and harder.
So can I ask you what your total budget is?
Our total budget this year will be just about $8 million between the 3 programs, and our early learning is about 42% of that. And and we are on an expansion program. So in 2 years, our budget will be $10 million, and we'll be serving 518 little children, so under the age of 5. So I don't sleep at night. So, but yeah, so it's but we're very lucky to have a great network of supporters so that we do. But the key part too is not just what we pay for; it's all these partners that we bring in to provide services for free. We have a partnership with Able Academy, which is a behavioral health organization that comes in and screens our children and helps them get to the next level. If they have autism or any type of behavioral issues, we couldn't afford to have an on-staff person, so they come in and they work with our students. We have literacy coaches that come in from the local university and works with our teachers and our students to make sure that they're doing everything they can to make sure they have the best academics and reading skills. I talked about the dental. We have the Lions Club does eye and vision checks for us. So they all come in. We kind of become that little hub where everybody can come in and provide the services. And we're very open about that, even including local taxes for the parents and different legal issues that they'll come in and work with our parents on that. So all the free services are important. So the Guadalupe started as a soup kitchen in a local church in the early 1980s. The early learning program started in 1994. It'll be 25 years in 2 years, so I always get my math mixed up. 1994, and they started at the soup kitchen. Our donors had realized that the children were not speaking English and were going off to kindergarten without speaking English, so they started tutoring them to help them with English. And then they realized that if they hired the high school students to help them, there was a better connection. So that was all through the 80s and early 90s. And then one of the school principals who was on our board at the time said, we need to get these children earlier. We need to start at birth. And so then they were able to take over a small convalescent center that went out of business and started the early learning program there, and has grown over the years.
So some of those students then have stayed in the community, you could have attract them through elementary, middle, and high school?
Yes, it's very hard to do, but we're getting better at it.
Yeah.
And that's hopefully a research project that I'd love to see us do with somebody. But if we, so we do have, right now, I have 22 staff members that went through our high school program and are now working in the community and working for us, as well as every elementary, we have 5 elementary schools in Ommokalee and a middle school and high school. And we have at least 1 teacher at each school that went through our high school program and we put through college. So we're really proud of that too. We probably have about 15 teachers in public schools that went through our program. So we are trying, it's hard to track them through the, previously the Collier County Public Schools did not recognize, I don't know how it is here, but for years they did not recognize early learning providers and after school providers as partners. It was, you're in our way, you want to use our building, you want to use our facilities, and you're in our way. We just are K through 12, you know, and we end at 3. And we'll do our own after school program. The new superintendent that we had, she's been there about 8 or 9 years now, but she changed all that. It was, you're our providers. We need to focus on early learning and after school. We need the wraparound services. So now we can actually get, we have an MOU with the county where we can get the students' records. So if you're in our program and you're in kindergarten through 2nd grade, we can see how you're doing and we can adapt our after school program to how you're doing in school. Same thing with our high school students. We can see their grades, we can see what they're doing, and we can work with them. So it's been a great partnership, but it's only been maybe the last 5 to 7 years that we've actually been able to follow them. Once they're out of our program, we can't, but if they come back in, we can access them.
So you say you have a fairly unique relationship with the district and the community?
Yes, in Collier County, so Collier County, Florida is the haves and the have-nots. It's the largest county in Florida. Naples is always voted the best place to live, the best place to retire, the healthiest place to be, and it's absolutely beautiful, and it's 76 degrees there right now. So it's really, really nice. But 45 minutes away, Ommokalee is the 31st worst city in the United States due to poverty and crime and the housing conditions. So I have children who live in a mobile home that's dilapidated, living with 12 people, and not so far away, there's 2 people living in a 10,000 square foot home by themselves. So it's a big difference. The school system is the connector of everything. And we have a Future Ready Collier program, which is a collaborative program where all the charities are now trying to get together to make sure every child is kindergarten ready and every child is on a career or college path. And this is unique. It's a collaborative, community collaborative impact program. Before, the nonprofits never talked to each other. The school system never talked to each other. For the past 4.5 years, a conversation is happening on a regular basis. And it's not just the CEOs talking to the CEOs. It's everybody in the program. So my staff who's working with the students are talking to people who are working with other students in other parts of the county and comparing notes. And that's how we're getting, you know, what do the parents need? How do we do that? A silly thing, the school system complains that parents don't register kindergartners until the first day of school or after, especially in Ommokalee. They don't know. They don't know what paperwork they need. They don't know what they're doing. So that delays the student's education. It could be up to a couple weeks and they're behind. So we said, well, we have 95 kids in our program. We will make sure that they're registered a month before school starts. So before our students leave us to go to kindergarten, we work with the parents, make sure they have all the paperwork, all the tests, everything done. And then we reach out to community people and say, if you need us to help you, we'll help you with that. Same thing with our college, high school students for FAFSA. We make sure that all our seniors are October 1st, that their FAFSA is complete. If there's issues with paperwork from their families, we help them, and then we ask them to tell their friends to come in and talk to us to make sure they get their FAFSA signed. So it is about the relationships and connection, and I feel like Collier County is getting to be unique because so many times charity, nonprofits won't talk or share because of, that's my donor. I don't want you to talk to my donor, but we've gotten over that. So it is a unique thing. Any other questions? I'm going to talk about our after school program. So now we have everybody kindergarten ready. They're in kindergarten, they're awesome, they know. now what? So then there's, for our 95 students that go in, there's another 3,000 students that were not in a program like ours. So they're behind, and most of our kids are not kindergarten ready in the school system. So we have a after school program that is at each of the 5 elementary schools. So it's an extended day. We have a unique system where we bring in, we have one adult teacher, and then we have our high school tutor course students working in the after school program, helping tutor little kids. So now our 5 to 7 year old students see kids who look just like them, grew up in their neighborhood, and are on the path to college, and are working. They're getting paid to work with these little kids, and realizing that they have a skill and not working in the fields, that you don't have to go work in the fields to be successful or to make money. And so right now we have, it's actually 800, this school year, 840 children from kindergarten through 2nd grade. Our goal is to get them as close to grade level by 3rd grade. I can't say we're all at grade level, but there's tremendous gains. They're going from lowest 25 percentile of reading to a higher one. And all of our students make significant gains in math, and 64% of them are reaching grade level in reading. So we're getting there.
Is there a specific intervention?
I'm sorry?
A specific curriculum or intervention?
So for reading, we use iReady, and the school system uses iReady. So we're able to piggyback on them and see their scores. So they'll go in and look at, Maria's score and see what she's doing. If she's having comprehension problems, then they pull her aside and say, okay, we'll work on that. For math, we're using MobyMax, and it's on, and I'll show you. So this is MobyMax, and they're using it on iPads and Kindles, and the kids love it. And they're very competitive and working. So this is one of our tutor course students. Like I said, so our high school tutor course program, which is our college preparatory program, it's a very competitive thing to get the students into the program. They have to apply, have a resume in 8th grade. Okay, 8th grade resume, references, and do an interview. And they get into the program, and they work in the after school program. They're paid a wage slightly higher than minimum wage. The money is theirs. We do teach them financial literacy, so that we help them create a savings account or a checking account that's direct deposited, which is something new we've done and was very difficult because most of the people in Immokalee don't have bank accounts. They're paid in cash on the fields. So the parents were a little hesitant that their child is going to have a bank account, and they don't. But we have all of them have a bank account now. We teach them financial literacy, help them save. But as they are working in the program, they can earn up to $4,000 a year in scholarship money. And that's money that's to help them to go off to college. And it depends on how many hours. If they work 260 hours a year, they get the $4,000, and then it goes down. But we make every opportunity for them to work it. We want them to be in sports. We want them to be in other clubs. So we try to be flexible with the hours, but they do have to act like a real job. They need to tell us when they can work, tell us when they're going to come in, tell us when they're not going to come in, and they're held accountable. So they're getting those soft skills of being good employees too. 30% of our tutor corps graduates go into either a nonprofit or teaching. So I think they realize they love working and helping children and giving back. And then, so you'll see that there's centers, and this student's working with them on, I think that's the MobyMax, and then the student in the back is helping them with homework. So there's 4 centers. The iReady is on the back with the computers. Where they're, I got the fun thing. Sorry. Back here, they're working on the iReady. Here, they're working on homework, and then here, the math. And then if you see this little boy here, he's sitting with the teacher who's doing one-on-one reading skills and flashcards, things like that. She picks something that she wants to work, and then they rotate. And we do feed them dinner, a snack. They do get a little bit of we're not allowed to call it recess anymore. It's brain break. So it's recess. They get to go out and play for about 15 minutes. And then we bus them home and make sure they get home. So, and this is a free program. So this program is free to all the students.
How long are they there?
From about 3 to 5:30. Yeah.
How's
Through grants and charitable donations, yeah, through philanthropy. Yeah, and the school system does charge us rent, which is low, but the transportation is the high thing. So we keep negotiating with them. One of the things that we did do through our collaborative partnerships is there's other nonprofits that run after school programs. So before we were all paying 2 hours a day for the buses, but only using the buses for a half hour. So now we do the buses together. So we only pay for the 2 hours once, and then all the kids go home together.
Yes.
Who's overseeing the students? Are they in-service teachers? We have an adult teacher, so they're either a certified teacher that works in the school system and stays after, and we pay them directly, or it's one of our adult tutors that has been trained. And a lot of them may be assistants in the school system or people who've worked with in education and before. So there's always one adult teacher in the classroom, and they work it. And all the kids are high school kids are trained through a collaborative program also on how to work with them. And the great thing is when we'll get a lot of migrant students in October, November, and throughout the year. We had a student that came from Haiti and didn't speak English at all, but we had a Haitian high school student sit and work with that student for several weeks to make sure that they had the skills and were able to get caught up pretty quick because they have one-on-one attention, which the school system can't do during the day. So we're.
Sorry, I don't.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, it won't work. We'll see.
I told him to ask a lot of questions.
If if the outcomes for the program are as strong as you're indicating, right, no reason to believe that they're not, would you say that you've got a model that can be studied and potentially replicated, or studied and lobbied at a state or local level for funding so that the philanthropic support can be minimized and ongoing federal or state or local support can take over?
Yeah.
But I have to say it back.
So basically he was asking if I'm really as good as we say we are.
I didn't say just like that.
No. Could this be a model for other communities like ours and bring in potential funding from the state? Can we lobby them?
Well, first
Yes.
thing I wanted to know was there a grant possibility for studying this to then demonstrate the efficacy of
I don't know yet, but we are talking to some wonderful people here to see if there is a research project that could help us with how do we do that. I have one of our curriculum person who's helping me. She's going for her PhD in education, so she's doing her thesis on the importance of early learning from 0 to 3 in poverty communities, because I have a lot of donors who think that's babysitting. So she's pulling that together for us so that we can say, no, it's not babysitting, it's really education. But the after school part, we do have a major donor who is helping us with the collaboration to keep the cost down, but no one has done a study on it and we don't have funding for that. But the lobbying part would be a great thing for us to do, but we haven't been able to pull that leadership together yet. But
yeah, so
we just
study day would be really helpful.
Yeah, so right before I left, so we do K through 2, and there's another organization in our community that's 3rd grade to 5th grade. And one of the reasons was because we didn't have, when we started the program, we really wanted to focus on getting really focus on not doing too much, but getting the kids ready for 3rd grade. And so they picked the 3rd to 5th grade up. They had the Miracle Grant through the federal government. And so they were providing that to students, and so it was complimentary. So we knew that we can pass them on to them. Right before I left, I found out that they applied for the new grant, that their funding was cut in half. So 2 of the 3 elementary schools, they have to end their programs at the end of December, and the middle school and high school programs have been cut. So the federal government is shifting money someplace else. So yeah, it's really hard when you depend on the government for the funding, and we're trying not to do too much of that, but trying to get money that's accessible. So did that answer all the questions on that one? And then just seeing the homework help and how they're doing. And these kids they connect with the tutors, and it really makes a big difference. And I think that's our secret sauce is the connection of of the tutors and paying the tutors. Because now the parents are not asking, especially the boys, to go out into the field or go work in a convenience store or work at McDonald's, but to actually be working in an environment that they're getting skills that can help them as they move forward. So with our after school program, we do wrap around a lot of services. We make sure at the before school starts, we take all the students to into town to get brand new shoes. For some of them, it's their first new pair of shoes. There's always a large number of students who are wearing shoes that are 2 sizes too small than the ones that they leave with. The store owner's always amazed. So we bust them out. They get to go to lunch at Outback afterwards. They open up just for us, so it's a big day for them. We also do, they get backpacks, supplies. So we make sure that no student feels like they don't have the things they need. But it's always a great highlight because all the boys are like, I can run fast now. I'm fast. So they have fast feet now. When they graduate at 2nd grade in May, before they leave us and go on to the other program, we have a buddy day. So we take them to Marco Island. And I don't know if anybody's been to Marco Island. We take them there for the day and we buddy them with a volunteer. So they get a grandparent for the day. And we have different activities on the beach. They're not allowed to go in the water because our students don't know how to swim. And they learned that the first year when they went to a pool and they all kind of sunk. But our students don't know how to swim. So we also give them swim lessons through a local partner to help them learn how to swim. And our reading, so going back to are we as good as we say we are. So in our scale score readings, the kindergartners are at a 56-point increase, 1st grade at 52 points, and then our 2nd grade at a 44 points. So from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, that's their increase in their scale scores. And we have 42 classrooms right now on all 5, over the 5 elementary schools with 840. So our tutor course students, we now have 108 in this tutor. So every time we add a classroom, we need to add 3 or 4 more tutor course students. We have 108. We have 8 additional reserve students that work in the program, but right now I can't promise them the scholarship money due to funding. So it makes me feel really guilty, and I'm trying to get those 8 students onto the scholarship part, but they are working in the program and they get all the other services that are tutor course students. So they get the SAT and SAT prep, they get a mentor, so every one of our high school students has an adult mentor. Lisa is now an adult mentor, and so we pair them with a student, and they become that person that has gone through college, has gone on a career path, and can give them that advice that their parents may not know. I was 1st generation college student. My parents couldn't give me any advice on what to do with financial aid or just what happens when you're homesick. When I was homesick, my mom said, come home and drop out of school. That's what these parents are saying. They're like, come home. I'll make you more food, but you need somebody that can say you can do this, or these are different paths. Every child in Monteclavo wants to grow up and be a doctor, but when they realize they don't like people or blood, they realize they need to find another field. So how about talking to a doctor and saying, what was it really like to go through school or be a lawyer or an engineer? So we give them those opportunities to connect with professionals and have that advice that we all wish we had or we did have. So we currently have 143 students in college all over the country. We have 9 at Arcadia University right now, outside of Philadelphia. We have an incredible partnership with them, and we have 7 graduates from there. And they are on a complete full ride. We have 3 more students that will be finding out this week if they got the scholarship. So 3 students a year. This is our last year doing with that partnership. But the kids have gone through incredible 4 years, and they had a team of people around them to help them do that. And all of them had studied abroad. And these are students that have never been out of Ommokalee. And so it was great. So, and then 167 college graduates. So now they're all economically independent. As I said, we have 22 of them working for us. And we have teachers in the community, nonprofit leaders, kind of have a list here that you can take a look and see what they're doing. Everything from doctors, lawyers, bankers, lighting designers for the WWE. They're achieving their dreams, because they had the quality education. And so each year now we have 25 to 28 students coming in. We recruit them in January of their 8th grade year. They go through the process. When I first came on, they were just taking kids any old time, but I really made a mandate of we want them coming in as a class as freshmen and staying with them. We don't give up on our students. I think that's one of the things I'm going to take as my legacy is before, if a student made a silly mistake, it was like, okay, you're out of the program. As long as, you know, it's a mistake that they can learn from it, we're working with them. We had a student that was expelled from high school for basically trying to protect himself with mace because he was being harassed, and he ended up being expelled and going to the alternative school. And we could have kicked him out of the program, but what I said is, okay, when you get out of the alternative school, you come and volunteer in the center, and you stay with us, and we work with you. And he has transformed into a totally different child. He was very meek and scared and unsure, and now he's got confidence, and he knows that what he doesn't want to be, and that was really big. And so we're working with students, not letting them make one mistake and be let them.
Just curious about the gender breakdown of your tutor corps.
We're about 65% girls. We were at like 70. I'm trying to get a little bit more boys in there. We were really heavy girls for a while, but I'm trying to do the 50-50. A lot of the boys end up going to work for the families, and that's why it's so important that we're paying them so that they don't. But we're getting a little bit better. I think we're about 60-65% girls now.
Yeah, I was curious about. I love the idea of the tutor corps idea, but I can see how that would be seen as a gendered role,
Yes.
especially in the traditional community.
Yeah, yeah.
And that would be an uphill swim. But I would.
Yeah.
Actually pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, and they're incredible kids, and it's just getting them into the program. But like I said, if the parents think they're getting if the parents just look at it, I've had parents say to me, "My kid needs a job. Can it get in your program?" And they totally miss the whole education part of it. But that's okay. It's okay if that's what the parents need to get them to support the program or having them in the program. I'm good with that. So we have a student actually. I'll show you. He's in there. So we do have the 94% graduation rate. We do track our students through college. The other secret sauce that we have is George, who is our college coordinator. He has become their big brother. We don't say, here's your scholarship money, good luck, you know, have fun at Drexel. It's, you know, we disperse the money over the 4 years. So even if they only in our program 2 years, the money is spread over the 4 years of college, and we stay with them. They have to report. They have to self-report their grades. They have to request the money. We send them care packages during exams. If they're late, they call. Where's my care package? We have a donor who provides every graduating senior going off to college funding to get new bedding and things for their dorm room, so they can start on an even playing field because they don't have those items. Coat hanger, hangers, we like to tell them college doesn't come with hangers. Make sure you get hangers and soap detergent. And she also provides them with a $75 gift card to the local pizza place. So at some time in that first month, they can order pizza and have a pizza party to meet their dorm mates. And I think that is just an extra added, wow, let's make sure they feel comfortable. Our students also, don't know they're minorities. They don't. They live in a community where I'm the minority. I have students that my son worked in the summer program, and the little kids were like, "Where'd you get blue eyes from?" They had no concept of blue eyes, but so they don't understand the issues, and we have to do a better job of preparing them to go to big cities and areas where they are a minority. And so we do that in a couple of ways that I'll also share. Summer program is one of the ways. So in between your junior and senior year, a student can go to a university pre-college experience. We had 4 students here this summer, and they were just absolutely loved Philadelphia. One wants to come here, one wants to come to Drexel, and you'll learn about him in a little bit. The other one decided he wants to stay in Florida. But that's a good thing. They learn what they want and what they don't want. For many of them, it's a first time on a plane, first time doing their laundry, first time trying different foods or seeing buildings higher than 2 stories. I'd like to tell a story of the 3 girls who went to Missouri, University of Missouri, for a summer program, and they had to change planes in Atlanta. First time flying. Who likes changing planes in Atlanta? So imagine you're 16 years old, never been outside of your impoverished little Ommokalee, and you have to change planes in Atlanta. And then you get to St. Louis, and you are amazed on how high the buildings are, and wanting to know where the lizards are, because in Florida, there's lizards everywhere.
Yeah.
So there's no lizards in St. Louis. They didn't see any. So it was just amazing that that's what they came back with. There's no lizards, so where are they? So, but it's learning all the different things, learning people, meeting people from all different cultures in the world, and it helps them. Yes, John?
Dawn, can you speak a little bit to the tether hooks that the parents have on the children?
Yeah, you know, when I was flying up here, we have 3 students that were flying to Virginia for University of Mary Washington, and 2 are Haitian, one is Hispanic, and so we're kind of talking about, are they want to go out of state? You know, where are they're looking at college. They were at Arcadia last week, and the one girl had a container of spaghetti in her backpack because, you know, she couldn't go 4 days without her mom's spaghetti. So, and then all of them said, yeah, my mom doesn't want me to go out of state. So it's unknown for the parents. The food is another issue that they're used to their family food. And so going to a city that may not have that is big on them, but it's hard. And that's why we need to engage the parents as early as possible. With the summer programs, they go away for 2 to 6 weeks. The parents went, okay, they went, they came back still, you know, still nice and still safe and maybe a little bit more confident, and they start to see that. And we work with the parents on that. I've seen families where I had a student, he wasn't in our program, but a partner program, got a full ride to the University of Florida, brilliant kid, and lasted 10 days because his mom called and cried every day. And they didn't have the program he was in didn't have the resources of a George that would be there and talk to him. We have a student in Arcadia who wants to transfer home. And that poor kid, I swooped on him, our counselor swooped on him, the counselors at Arcadia swooped down on him, his mentor swooped, everybody was like, okay, what's the problem? Why do you want to leave? What's going on? And we worked through it. So, but yeah, it's you have to have that resource there because the parents it's an unknown for them. You know, their kids are never going to come back in their visions, but when we can tell them, they do come back. They do come back. And my assistant just graduated college, and I hired her, and she's 22 years old. She graduated on a Friday, started work with us on Monday, and the following Friday, her and her sister helped her parents buy a home. And they were she grew up in Farm Workers Village, which is housing by the government for farm workers. No TV, 300 square feet. And they were able to buy a house in their community that was new and help her parents. So she's living with her parents, her and her sister both, and they're working. But to be able to do that and buy herself a car is a success. It's economic independence. I'm sorry.
I don't want to bring up anything political, but you talk about the parents. Are they immigrants? Are they naturalized citizens? And if they're not, is there support to help them with citizenship?
Yeah, so yes, and yes, all of them. If they can be, they're on a path to citizenship. What I usually say is all our students are either citizens or legal. We do have about 10 DACA students, and we help them get into universities that will accept and fund them because the state universities cannot fund DACA students. So we help them with that. I've written a number of letters to immigration to help keep parents stay in the country as a character witness. But most of our families, if it's not their parents, it could be their grandparents, their uncles. There's somebody in their family that may have come over illegally to get them here. But the rest are legal. But there are resources in the community, and we do try to make sure we connect them. We have an incredible legal aid society in our community. It's run by Sister Maureen, and she's expert on immigration. And so there's always somebody working on them. Not to be political, but the ICE issue that's been happening right now has been happening for 20, 25 years. There's absolutely no difference in that community. The biggest difference right now, in the 90s, busloads of people were being pulled out. Now they're a little bit more focused on people who are known criminals or have an issue that they're going. So when ICE came out in August, it scared everybody. Our summer program, they parked right outside our summer program, and our attendance was down by 60 children because they didn't want to leave their homes, and people were scared. But they were there for specific people. It wasn't just like, oh, I'm going to grab you, but it was for specific people. So the issues are not new to the community. They're new to the media and to the general public. So I hope that answered everything.
Yeah, it's fun to take care of.
Yeah. And I have to say, my very conservative Republicans called me the next day and said, what do we need to do for these families? So, not to be political, but my donors call, it's a very conservative community. They called me after the hurricane, after ICE was there, and they said, what do we need to do? So people do step up that you don't hear about in the news. Yes.
As far as funding, I'm not sure of the laws in Florida, but I know the federal government seems to be supporting charter schools.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that was a consideration?
There is a charter school in Ommokalee for kindergarten through 5th grade, and it focuses on migrant students. And it's a good school. It's a good school, but once again, it's a limited number of kids in the community. There was a movement to try to get some Catholic schools to come into the community from Notre Dame, and to open up a charter school. We have probably 6 charter schools in Collier County, only 1 in Ommokalee. But in Collier County, other outside of Ommokalee, the charter schools are for middle-class families who don't want to pay for private schools. So they get in there first. So I'm not a big fan of that.
Yeah.
The one in Ommokalee is good, but it's just limited space. That. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think. So through our donor base, it really kind of happened through our donor base. So we have a lot of donors with that want to introduce their alma maters to our students. And so we created what we call a partner college, and it's an agreement with the college where they'll provide additional scholarship money to our students, help us with the application process so that they kind of it's just a Guadalupe student program. We look at schools that have a diversity director or some type of program for minority students or first generation college students. And so that the things that are important to us is that there's somebody on the other end that we can call and say, hey, how are they doing? They're having trouble. And they can call us and say, yeah, that winter coat you bought in Florida doesn't work well in Chicago. You need to get another one, or something, or things like that. So we partner with them. So we have about 12 really solid partnerships. Some of them are for the summer program, like University of Missouri Business School takes a number of our students for a week-long business program. Marquette has an engineering program. And then we have a couple outside of Chicago on North Central and Allegheny that also have special scholarships so that our kids can go pretty much almost either close to free ride or a free ride. Arcadia was our biggest one. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it in this room, but I mean with Villanova. Villanova has, I know I can't say that in at St. Joe's, but Villanova, which is kind of funny because the girl who applied to Villanova, we were talking about it and she kept calling it Villanova, because you don't pronounce the L's. Yeah. And she goes, Villanova, and I'm going, where? And I'm like, it's silly, it's Villanova. So they have a scholarship set up from one of our students that we're hoping to have one go this year. So different things like that. University of Toledo has a school of education named after one of our donors, and she arranged for one of our students to get a scholarship there. And this girl, very quiet, very hunched over, a little larger, and she was very quiet through high school. And the moment she got that, we were worried about the interview because she was so quiet. The moment that she got that scholarship, this butterfly just came out, and she is ahead of like all these groups on campus and just doing everything and excelling. And she was just this quiet, shy person in high school, and now she's running all the like the Latin club and all this stuff. And so they find their niches, and being able to give them education without being debt free is allows them to really explore it. So yeah, so the partnerships are really big, and it is because of relationships from our donors. And we're trying to really get our students out there and share who they are. And these are examples of our students that went on a summer program. Getting them to the summer program helps them learn about the school. So I'm going to show you another video if I have time. Lunix, who came to the architectural program this summer, is an absolute rock star, and he fell in love with the school. And he's just one of those kids that you put something in front of him, he excels. But he lives in a he lived in a 500 square foot home in Ommokalee with 12 people. And he would not go home after school. After work and after school, he would come to the center and just volunteer and be with us. And he taught himself how to play ragtime, the piano song Ragtime, by himself on our piano because he liked to play piano, and he taught himself. And John and Lisa heard him play at an event, and he did it in like 6 weeks, and he was just amazing. And so he's very talented, but if you left it in his environment. His parents moved out of Ommokalee to the next town, and he is driving him and his brother every day to Ommokalee to stay in school and stay in our program. And so we have to hold on to kids like that. So so this is Lunix here. Okay, my phone toy. That's Lunix here, and this is his drawings that he did while he was here, and you'll see everything that he did at while he was Drexel. And I wanted to, and those are his drawings, and that's what he did while he was here. And his photographs are just absolutely beautiful. We realized that he can take photos, and we're like, every event, grab a camera, take photos of the kids. Because now we have these really great photos, and it's because of him. So, I do want to share. Is this the video? I do want to share a 5-minute video. I know I'm going a little over time. That gives you an overall view of everything I just said, but also gives you some faces of our success stories and what the students are doing. And I didn't think I could talk for an hour. Sorry.
My parents were migrant workers. My mom was out on the crop.
My parents were farm workers.
My parents used to take me to the fields.
When I came here, I did not know any English.
My parents came really to give me a better life.
I didn't even think I would actually be able to go to college.
You want something better for your kids.
I want to go to college to have a better future.
Guadalupe Center opened my eyes to the opportunities I had.
I'm the first one in my family to go to college.
I want to be a teacher when I grow up.
I want to be a biomedical engineer.
You're opening a future to so many students.
Last year we had a little girl come in, and it was her first time in an early childhood education program. She was staying with grandma. She didn't talk at all. I got her when she couldn't verbalize or communicate with anybody, and she left me, and she could count. She left us pretty assured of herself and very much able to communicate what she wanted and her thoughts and her emotions, and it was something really, really beautiful to watch. You become someone special, a hero of sorts. They can be anything and do anything if we open ourselves up to learning. This is their foundation. Without the Guadalupe Center, they wouldn't be ready for school and having a love for learning that we couldn't find anywhere else.
These families work, many of them in the fields or multiple jobs. They are not home at 3 o'clock when the bell rings.
It's cool. They help me with my homework. I just like them to just being around because that makes me comfortable.
Thanks to Guadalupe Center, that early work done in K1 and 2 have huge impacts on the lives of not just their kids, but the families too. The after-school program gives them an additional boost, that sense of belonging. Good job. Builds our schools to be stronger, builds our families to be stronger, and ultimately elevates our community even more.
I want to be a teacher when I grow up.
My parents, they always told me that we won't be able to support you through college. So if you can find any opportunity to support yourself and get yourself further in life, you should take it. My teachers told us about student court. I was like, okay, this is the opportunity that my parents would want me to take. And I was so happy when I got that paper and said, oh, you're accepted. without tutor court, I didn't even think I was likely gonna be able to go to college. As a tutor court family, it allows us to get past those barriers that are stopping us from being the best we can be and make something out of ourselves that we could not have achieved by ourselves. My mentors are kind of like my parents. They will stick by your side.
The most rewarding thing about being Luix's mentor is knowing that he's going to have the opportunities that he would not have otherwise.
I don't have to struggle on the road by myself. I have people by my side willing to help me every step of the way.
Everybody should have an opportunity to perform according to their capability.
I'm currently a senior at Arcadia University in Glenside, Pennsylvania, and I'm studying business admin with a concentration in management. I was a tutor for the Guadalupe tutor course for 4 years. I was able to apply for the Blankley Scholarship, which has been phenomenal. It's been incredible to be able to get out of my comfort zone a little and meet new worlds of opportunity.
Rosemary and I both experienced a lot of help. We both received scholarships that enabled us to go to college.
Knowing how much I appreciate everything I had, it's easy to give back.
The Guadalupe Center has changed my life significantly. Had I not had this opportunity of getting the scholarship, I wouldn't be able to be here where I am.
The students, yes, they benefit from having a scholarship and education to come to Arcadia, but Arcadia is benefiting from them being here as well. They add to the richness of Arcadia.
The Guadalupe does far more than just breaking the cycle of poverty. They change people in so many different ways. It's been such a blessing.
Thank you, Guadalupe Center. I was born and raised in Ommokalee. A lot of my friends didn't go to college. Yeah, I feel like the expectations were kind of low. I was interested in becoming a doctor, but a lot of people said, no, that's too hard. We don't have any doctors come out of Ommokalee. But my mom's always pushing me, you gotta do something more, do a little bit more, do a little bit more. I joined the tutor corps when I was in 9th grade. My mentors were invaluable to me. Without the support of Guadalupe, the community would really suffer and the kids would suffer too. So many kids have come out of Ommokalee and been able to go to college with their help. I had to overcome a lot of barriers to actually get into medical school. I ended up graduating top in my class. I have to have a purpose and I have to give back. Guadalupe Center, they were there for me to get into the program, graduate high school, go to college. We're making the world a better place.
Endless possibilities means allowing children to dream. It's a little bit of sunshine. You're changing lives.
Guadalupe has made me a better person.
I knew that I was capable of more.
It's really changed my life.
Guadalupe Center gets into your heart and it never leaves.
That's Lunix, the gentleman that you saw there, and hopefully he'll be here next summer again for another program, and maybe the fall after that. So he's a junior this year, so he's great. Any questions, thoughts about that I can answer?
Can you check the chat to see if there's questions?
I said there were no questions. I think, Joyce, did you have a question?
There's people on
the.
Not anymore.
And I just want to point out this this graphic. The student, this is Mark Trejo, and Mark was in our early learning program. That's his graduation picture. He was in our after school program. He became a tutor corps student, and now if you recognize the background, he's at Arcadia, and he is studying to be an accountant, and he interned with us last summer, 2 summers ago in our accounting department, and then he interned this last summer with Lipman Farms, which is a big tomato producer there, and he wants to be an accountant because that's what his dad always wanted to be growing up when he worked in the fields and never made it to college. And so he wants to do it, and he's one of our many rock stars. But just love this graphic because it shows the transition. Ahead. Sorry. Go back. Just wanted to share the operating budget chart because a couple of you have asked. So our revenue, 66% is through philanthropic support, and tuition, the $37 gives us about 9%. We do have a resale shop that we receive donated items, and I think that's one of the ways Lisa was introduced to us. She volunteered there. It's a very high-end resale shop. I just bought a really cool pair of Italian pants, really cheap, but in great furniture. And we raised, last year the revenue was about $750,000 from that, and we have about 70 volunteers and only 2.5 full-time employees. So it's a great way. We're hoping to expand that. And then about 12% in government funding through the food subsidies in school readiness and VPK dollars. But our expenses, you'll see 45% is the, is it 42? 45% is the early childhood. And we keep our fundraising and administration under 20%, which gets harder and harder, but that is what we're doing. And then our after school and tutor corps program, we put into one budget at 35% for that. And that's how we reach our 1,300 students and families. So any questions, other things? Yes.
Couple questions. One, what's the, if you know, the percentage of students, like maybe over the last couple of years, to come back to live and work in Ommokalee? Okay. Those who from, let's just say the tutor corps program versus all over.
Right. I believe, and we were just double checking this and I forgot what they said, but I believe it's about 60% come back to Collier County and work in the community.
So from that perspective, has there ever been any research, or have you been able to see what the economic impact is to the county?
No, that's another thing. If we had the resources for a study, it would help, because like if you look at our list of where they're working in the local community, the impact on the nonprofits, on education. There's a small town outside of Ommokalee called Ave Maria that was started by Tom Monahan, the founder of Domino's Pizza. It's a small Catholic community kind of out there. And I think one of the greatest successes is we have a number of our tutor corps students who buy houses there and live there, because the housing situation in Ommokalee is, as you saw in the video, is terrible. So they want to be close to their families, but they don't want to go back into that farm worker trailer type environment. And until we address the housing issue, which I think is getting a little bit, could get better, we won't be able to really see the impact there. But the number of kids that live in Ave Maria, Naples, and stuff like that, there's an impact. We just haven't been able to measure it. Yeah, but they do want to come back because of that connection with their families. We have to have the jobs for them, and we have to have the housing for them, which that's another soapbox for another time. Questions, thoughts? Okay. Well, thank you so much.
We want to thank Dawn one last time.
I didn't bring a lot, but we do have our new impact report that just came out and kind of tells you a little bit more about our successes this year. And this is our the kids who went on our summer program, and they talk about what they did and where they went. So if you want to take one of those, and our list of some of our kids. So, well, thank you so much.
So with our appreciation for coming here today, we have a small token, a small gift. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So we have about 15 or 20 minutes so that we can mingle, and if you want to talk to Dawn individually, you can do so, and please continue to eat. It's going to be an eating day. That was great. Oh, did I had tears in my eyes with that last video? I'm like, oh my god, I gotta compose myself. It does.
Hi. Hi, Anthony. Hi, Anthony. Nice to meet you. Oh, great. Oh, good. Oh, okay.
Right here, sis.
You let it go! Your
Eric, that was recorded, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send it to you now. Watch it.
I know.